It creates a stable pair, basically a stable version of the token and a volatile version of the token. What would happen if we didn't have 10% volatility and we just had zero volatility on one side and 100% volatility on the leverage side? And so essentially it's the same mechanism, but fxUSD is just basically $1.
Welcome to the Edge Podcast. I'm DeFi Dad here with Nomadic from 4RC. In this quick hit, we cover a promising new stablecoin by f(x) protocol called fxUSD. In this episode, convex investor and f(x) contributor Cryptovestor joins us to talk about how this new design in the stablecoin space might offer greater stability, yield, and resilience, and how these new tools can be used by Ethereum LST and LRT protocols whose tokens back fxUSD. But before we do, just a quick word from our sponsors who make the Edge Podcast possible.
Introducing the MANTLE liquid staking protocol, MANTLE LSP, a permissionless, non-custodial ETH liquid staking protocol deployed on Ethereum L1 and governed by MANTLE. With MANTLE LSP, users can stake ETH to instantly receive METH, earn yield and accumulate rewards the longer you stake. METH is the value accumulating receipt token that will give you access to expanded yield opportunities. Stake and watch your yield grow with MANTLE LSP.
Introducing RSWETH by SWELL Network, a native liquid restaking token that gives you access to the EigenLayer ecosystem. Earn pearls, points, and future restaking rewards without locking your liquidity. And enjoy countless DeFi integrations for earning easy passive yield. Learn more at swellnetwork.io. Introducing KELP DAO, the first liquid restaking platform for LSTs. With KELP, anyone can deposit Steth by Lido, ETHX by Stater, or SFRX ETH by Frax, and mint a liquid restaking token called RSETH. With RSETH, you can participate in your favorite DeFi platforms and get 100% of all EigenLayer points, plus KELP miles. A fresh wave of restaking is here, restaking that's liquid, rewarding, and convenient. Learn more today at kelpdao.xyz/restake. For most of us, our crypto journey started with MetaMask, and now with MetaMask Portfolio, we can do so much more. MetaMask Portfolio puts you in control. Use the dashboard to see all your assets and balances across your wallets in one place. The buy feature allows us to buy crypto assets effortlessly with fiat options such as PayPal or credit card. The swap feature allows us to swap any tokens anytime by finding a selection of available rates. The bridge feature allows us to bridge between networks including Ethereum, L1s, and L2s based on the best price and fastest delivery time. And with the stake feature, anyone in a few clicks can stake ETH and earn rewards. Do more in Web3 your way with a safe, simple, and convenient tool that's all in one place. Track and manage your Web3 everything at metamask.io/portfolio.
It all started so simply with CryptoKitties and Maker on Ethereum, but quickly became complex with more applications and many chains. Today, everyone agrees UX issues are the biggest blocker standing in the way of crypto adoption. Introducing Avocado. Multi-chain UX redesigned from the ground up. The first wallet to abstract networks, accounts, and gas. One gas tank to pay transaction fees on all chains. In USDC. And native access to INSTADAPP's powerful, custom DeFi strategies. Avocado, one wallet to rule all chains.
All right, let's introduce our friend CVX Maxi and contributor to AladdinDAO and f(x) protocol, Cryptovestor. Sir, welcome back to the Edge Podcast. How are you doing?
Doing well, sir. How are you guys doing? Thank you for having me back.
We had a conversation back in the fall with Cryptovestor, and I think the podcast was around November 30th. We talked about a number of V token powered projects, one of which was f(x) protocol. And f(x) protocol is newer, and so there's a bit more here to cover in terms of how you can mint these stable assets versus these levered assets. And the underlying assets in this protocol, currently it's Steth or ETH, And we're going to talk about what's coming with actually more assets added. More specifically, we're going to talk about this fxUSD stablecoin. So this is actually a token that Cryptovestor made some references to in the last podcast. I can't recall if it was on air or not, but it was kind of like a wish list of his that they would build this. And funny enough, as a contributor now to Aladdin and fxUSD, that stable coin is getting ready to launch. So hopefully you can help us to get caught up on what we need to know about how we might use it, how the design provides more stability, more resilience, more yield, and maybe how we might even provide liquidity and use it with other DeFi protocols. But Cryptovestor, can you just catch us up? Give us a refresher on fxUSD protocol. If you know nothing about it, like how does it work? What's f of ETH? What's xETH?
Sure. Just to give you guys a basic primer on that, fxUSD started off with a tree token design. It's basically it creates a stable pair, basically a stable version of the token and a volatile version of the token. And that could be any yield-bearing token. It could be ETH, it could be CDX, it could be anything that earns any yield. And so Protocol FX started off with, out of the crisis of the USDC crisis, started with trying to create a stable coin that wasn't necessarily pegged to any particular dollar-denominated unit, right? So they created fETH. fETH basically tracks 10% of the volatility of ETH, and xETH absorbed the other remaining 90%. And so it's a beautiful design because it gives people who want to, just stake and earn yield, earn the underlying Ethereum base yield, or if they prefer, they can go ahead and, go on the leverage side and get anywhere between 1 to 4x leverage on the xETH side. And so the evolution there and what, many in the community were kind of talking about, including myself, was what if we just notched this thing down to zero volatility? What would happen if we didn't have 10% volatility and we just had zero volatility on one side and 100% volatility on the leverage side? And so essentially it's the same mechanism, but fxUSD is just basically $1. And there's zero volatility on the one side. Imagine if Ethereum was split, right? Let's say Ethereum is just for a quick, mental example. If Ethereum was $2,000 or now $3,000, and you basically you're trying to create this pair, fxUSD basically takes $1 and puts it on one side, and then you have $2,999 put on the other side. And so it's always it's guaranteeing that there's $1 worth of Ethereum always on that one side. And the other portion, the other token, picks up all of that additional, leverage, if that makes sense. So, now, in addition, okay, the one of the main things is because it's doing that, and because that design is that way, right? You have a very novel peg mechanism. You're not really relying on incentives or curve pools or all these different things or complex AMO strategies. You're basically using the invariant formula to guarantee a perfect $1.00 peg on one side and just dumping all of the other volatility onto the X token side. And so to go in a little bit further, right, several LSDs can join. And so at launch, there's going to be two LSDs. It's going to be Lido staked ETH and it's going to be Fraxi. All right. Now, if you think about it from a more complex standpoint, there's going to be, two token pairs for each LSD. You would have basically something like a fSTETH and an xSTETH, and you would have like a fFrax ETH and an xFrax ETH, right? But the design mechanism of fxUSD is to kind of make those F tokens automatically staked in their individual rebalance pools. But when they're redeemed and they're extracted out of the system, they extract out as fxUSD, as the one denominated unit stablecoin. So, but you have the option of choosing a variety of X tokens. So if I wanted to go into the Frax X token specifically, I can choose to go into the Frax X token. But when it comes to the stable side, it's basically staked constantly unless it's either redeemed out as fxUSD or as STEF or as fxETH.
So Cryptovestor, on that, I guess looking at fxUSD, to me, it seems quite novel. Just as like looking at FX protocol for the first time, I think both DeFi Dad and I were pretty blown away by that mechanism. And actually, you know what, to shout out, we never do this, but pretty sure the first time we talked to FX protocol, the price of FXN was around $10 to $15. And if you go look at it today, I think it's trading around $100, $110. Not financial advice, but listening to the Edge podcast is probably a good move. I think we also talked to EtherFi when it was around 30 to 40 million TVL. I think it's now around 1.3 billion. So again, listening to the Edge podcast is a good move. We might cut this. But just getting back to this, so I haven't seen another stablecoin mechanism like this on the market. Is there anything you can point to that's similar, or like how differentiated is this from the current offerings? Because I think the novel mechanism that everybody's been kind of looking at lately has been T-bill yield and stablecoins. It's been more lately Athena Labs, which I think I'd argue, and well, not even argue, I think the founders have even started saying that this isn't really a stablecoin. It's more of like a tokenized basis trade. But yeah, how are you kind of like positioning this or looking at this with the broader, I guess, groupings of stablecoins out there?
Yeah, I think Athena is actually good. It's a good, not a direct comparison because they're obviously very different, but I would say they're on separate ends of the spectrum. If you look at Athena, they're using the centralized exchanges and the decentralized world, and they're sort of using perps to manage this peg, right? And they're even using the ETH LST. So it's a very novel mechanism. I mean, I'm intrigued to watch it grow. But it does use a centralized exchange infrastructure, and one of their taglines is like the internet bond. And so from my perspective, the internet bond is Ethereum, and FX kind of is on the other side of the spectrum where it's more of a decentralized offering. And the yield comes from Ethereum stake yield. So the beauty of fxUSD is that when it is staked, okay, in the FX protocol, it is earning the underlying ETH yield. Okay. So, and right now it may seem like it's a small number, 5 or 6% or whatever it is, depending on which LSD it is, right? But remember that the 30 to 40% of the people that choose to go into the X token, they give up the yield. That yield gets put back into the rebalance pool yield and back to fxUSD stakers. So the yield automatically has a natural sink, and you basically get a higher outsized APY than a normal Ethereum LSD yield would be. So example, Lido might be 3 or 4%, but if they join with, and they're going to be, right, they're going to be launching with this as one of the first partners, they might be at 7 or 8%, or 6 or 7%. I'm not sure exactly the numbers. And then they can choose to, and when I use this word once, and then I'm not going to use it again, they can choose to bribe or incentivize the FX with their own stability pool, and so that will make their yield go up from 6 or 7% now to now maybe 8 or 9%. So you're getting a situation where FX protocol becomes a battleground for LSTs and LSTs in general. Does that make sense? And so the big key feature there is the staking yield that comes from a decentralized nature, from Ethereum itself. Go ahead, DeFi. That I know you had a question.
Oh yeah, I wanted to dig into what will this look like on the FX application. So we're recording this in advance of the launch, which, by the way, that's one other thing we do want to cover here, just the simple question of when this will launch. But if folks are listening to this in the future, I'm guessing it'll already be live, and you might want to just go to fx.aladdin.club.
Yes. To answer your question, yes. I think the goal for FFX was to create a very, very simple process. You'll be able to bring your Ethereum just like you do now to mint, FETH, and you can choose to mint fxUSD. and it will automatically, the ETH will automatically get staked. The fxUSD will automatically get staked in the rebalance pool. So those F tokens get, behind the scenes, they're individual F tokens, but, in grand scheme, the fxUSD is getting automatically staked as soon as you mint. And then you can choose to unstake and, take it out as fxUSD. But yes, it's going to be a very simplified, minting process. It takes all of the CDP loan aspect sort of out of the equation, that complexities. And so it's a very, very simple, bring your ETH, bring your STETH, bring your Frax ETH, bring your USDC, and you will just basically mint fxUSD and earn underlying ETH staking yield. And so the big catch line for F of X is you now have a stable token, a USD pegged stable token that can earn ETH staking yield. That's the key.
Do we have any idea what forecasted yield might look like for that stable coin? So let's say I am someone who's holding a certain amount of ETH and I want to start to sell out of some of that. Like we're at a profit-taking stage of the bull run. I want to start to accumulate some stable coins that are earning, competitive yield. This might be a good example of someone who might, look to fxUSD. So what sort of yield might we expect, and what goes into that yield if we were to try to estimate or calculate it?
Okay, so yeah, I think that, conservative numbers would be anywhere between 7 to as high as 15%. And I'll explain why, because there's a lot of variables there. But, first you have the base Ethereum state yield, right? We all understand that. But the big portion there, one of the big pieces is, again, you have the X token holders that gave up their yield. And so if you have 30 or 40% of those people holding that token, they gave up that yield. So it basically essentially amps up the fxUSD yield, the staking yield, by 50 to 80%. So 3% LIDO yield becomes 5 or 6% pretty quickly, just within the natural ecosystem. But then because these individual rebalance pools have FXN gauges, then LIDO or Frax or any of these protocols can, incentivize these pools and amp up their yield way higher. So the beauty too, one of the other novel mechanisms about fxUSD is the fact that, any dollar spent on an incentive from an LSD provider goes further on the FX protocol system than it does on a pool 2 system. If I had a standard curve pool and I was just depositing an incentive, I'm sharing it with the other side of the pool. But with fxUSD, if you are incentivizing your rebalance pool, if an LSD protocol is doing that, that every dollar spent brings their APY much higher than it would anywhere else in DeFi, which is going to make a huge incentive market for FXN emissions. One other thing I wanted to discuss, I know you talked about yield and what can we expect and how does it go from here. So there's another product that's, because Aladdin has Concentrator and they have Clever. This is a little bit of alpha. They are in this is in the development stage, but I wanted to share with you guys. So what they plan on doing is creating a fxUSD. And what that is basically the auto compounding vault of fxUSD on Concentrator. What does that mean? That means I take my fxUSD that I just minted, I deposit it into Concentrator. The underlying ETH yield that I would earn gets converted into more fxUSD. So you're earning purely more stables, right? So now you have a perpetual mechanism where you're earning more stables. But then to take it a step further, right, that yield can be amplified because they're going to be using Clever leverage system, which is going to be non-liquidatable leverage up to 50% loan to value. Okay, so you can amp up your leverage by 50%. So if you put, here's the thing, if there's a looping system, it's 50%, but I'm talking to, the guys in the team, and there might be a looping mechanism, which could take it all the way up to 2x leverage. So 200%. So you basically could put in $10,000, let's say, into fxUSD, mint fxUSD, deposit into Concentrator, and have a one-click auto-looping mechanism strategy that will give you 2x. So it's like you had $20,000 in that pool or in that vault, earning state, pure state. So that takes you at $10,000 earning 15%. Now it's $20,000 earning 15%. So it's really like a 30% yield on a stable coin, basically. And that is, that's huge because it integrates the auto looping, the leverage, and the auto compounding into one mechanism.
And just to clarify, because again, there are these really powerful, distinct products within f of x. This is one where we're shorting ETH, essentially. We're shorting whatever asset we're depositing there. We're getting into stable coins. We're earning yield. This is not a leveraged product like XETH. And so I just want to, I know the answer to this, but again, I just want to ask you to clarify for folks that are newer to f of x. If we were to use CowSwap maybe to mint it in the future, to mint fxUSD, or if we go directly to the f of x application, if I put in, let's say, 1 ETH, and let's pretend that the price of ETH is $3,000. Actually, no, let's pretend it's $10,000. Let's be optimistic. How much fxUSD then, Cryptovestor, would I end up with?
You should end up with as close to 10,000 fxUSD minus any fees, minting fees that go to the protocol, and whatever potential slippage there might be. So let's say on a $10,000 buy on CowSwap, you might end up with 9,900, something to that effect. But yeah, it's very one-to-one. Obviously, it's a dollar peg stablecoin. So like you said, it would be kind of the perfect scenario for the bull case, right? You get up to 10,000 Ethereum, and then now you just want to earn yield, and you want to stay in a relatively stable environment, And then you did mention CowSwap, which again, I know you know this from the last podcast, but seeing like FE, you will be able to direct mint fxUSD from the CowSwap interface. So swapping Ethereum into fxUSD is essentially a behind-the-scenes minting of fxUSD with FX protocol, if that makes sense. And so that's just another one of those integrations that makes it very, very novel.
And then once fxUSD is live, can you just remind us once again, what can we deposit to mint if we want to go directly to minting versus like someone else who might just buy fxUSD from like a deep liquidity pool in the future once there's more fxUSD out there? So anyways, what is the asset or assets that we can deposit or expect to deposit?
My understanding is it's going to start off with Ethereum, obviously, Lido staked ETH, Frax staked ETH, USDC. I don't know if there's any that. I think it starts there, and there might be others coming in the future, but that's the starting point.
When you deposit something like ETH, if it's not, let's say, Steph or Frax staked ETH, just to clarify there, under the hood, they're actually swapping for more LSTs, right? They're not holding a basket of stable coins then.
No, they're not. They're holding the staked ETH. So if you bring USDC to the system and you're depositing USDC, it's purchasing either Lido. If you choose USDC or ETH, right, and you don't choose one of the specific LSDs, right, it automatically goes to the highest yielding rebalance pool. So if it happens to be Lido at that point and it's earning 7 or 8%, then it's going to be the USDC is going to be sold behind the scenes on a curve pool for Steph, and then deposited into the FX system for reserve. So it's basically the FFX system is holding the Ethereum there as its backing.
And then just one last follow up to that. So let's say I've minted some fxUSD. Can you remind us, like, what can we do with that once we've got that? Like, I can use that obviously as a stable coin elsewhere and trade with it, or I could, hold it and accumulate some yield. But anyways, if you can kind of clarify the holding it and earning some yield versus like what liquidity pools might be available.
Sure, absolutely. So the killer app, obviously, at the launch it's auto staked, right? It's staked Ethereum basically, and it's earning these higher than usual Ethereum staking yields. So in the beginning, it's going to be about is staking and earning that yield, fxUSD, right? But obviously, utility is very important. So integrations with lending protocols and having several curve pools available are going to be really, really important to get momentum there, to increase supply. And I'll say this, we a little bit of alpha here. I'm talking to the guys that tried it, and they're very interested in maybe creating a PYUSD fxUSD pool. So immediately that creates a demand for fxUSD. And another key point to that is the more demand there is for fxUSD outside in the DeFi world, the higher the APY rates go in the rebalance pool because they're not in their staking, if that makes sense. So, the more utility that exists around, so the fxUSD that's in these PYUSD pool or any other Frax pool or any of these other pools that are coming will essentially be amping up the yields for fxUSD staked rewards, which again propels more LSD minting because people are after that yield, if that makes sense.
DeFi enables a whole new world of trading and yield opportunities. Sometimes we all wish we had a little bit bigger of a budget so we can make the most out of it. That's why we created Blueberry. Blueberry lets you access the best opportunities on Ethereum all in one easy-to-use terminal. You can access 5x, 10x, or even 20x your money in one click, more than any other lending market, so you can maximize your earnings. Only on Blueberry.
Maverick Protocol provides innovative liquidity solutions for token projects to customize, automate, and incentivize their liquidity with the highest efficiency in DeFi, all powered by Maverick AMM. Why has Maverick become the first choice for all kinds of token projects from stablecoins to LRTs? As the first dynamic distribution AMM, Maverick AMM provides automated liquidity movement modes which move your liquidity to follow price, keeping it where it does the most good. This enables Maverick-powered pools to process higher volume with lower TVL requirements and means that Maverick supports the highest capital efficiency for LRTs like WEETH. Maverick AMM also supports non-uniform liquidity distributions, making it easy to concentrate liquidity in shapes that fit each project's individual needs. Finally, Maverick boosted positions maximize incentive efficiency for protocols looking to bootstrap their token liquidity to precise strategic areas of a liquidity pool. Token communities like Lido, Aave, SWELL, ETHFi, and KELP DAO have been bootstrapping TVL and maintaining PEG using Maverick tools. Ready to build liquidity with maximal efficiency? Go to app.mav.xyz/The Edge Podcast today.
Cryptovestor, we were kind of talking about this PYUSD, fxUSD pairing offline. Can you speak to some of the downstream opportunities of like why being paired with PYUSD could be beneficial? I don't know if that's too much alpha to share, but I'll leave it at your discretion.
Sure, no problem. I can definitely explain. I mean, the biggest killer feature is obviously once you have that fxUSD and you can earn, say, we'll just say 15% APY, and depending on whether it's levered up or not, if you're in AFXUSD or whatever it is, you're earning 15%. The cool thing is if we create this pool, you'll be able to unstake, redeem your fxUSD. You'll be able to swap it for PYUSD very efficiently in a curve pool. And then you'll be able to send that PYUSD off to your PayPal account where you can send it to millions of merchants. You can use it to pay anybody. You can, fund your debit cards with it. So it becomes now part of the PayPal ecosystem. And so that's a huge move for a relatively small decentralized stablecoin.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for kind of creating almost that like synthetic bridge between DeFi and PayPal. I think that's going to get really interesting as 2024 evolves. So yeah, just kind of really excited to kind of watch that grow and just see what happens. There's things that, you know, I'm probably not even anticipating that will take place there as well. Okay, so something else I want to talk about just quickly, Cryptovestor, is just security, how you're kind of looking at, like if you've done audits. I know this is fxUSD is already being built off of like protocol products that are somewhat battle tested and have already been sort of vetted and audited. But yeah, just maybe speak to just any sort of security measures that the team thought of when bringing fxUSD to market.
Sure, absolutely. Aladdin does not, release any code that is not fully audited. fxUSD, even though it's very, very based on the original FE model, there were some changes there, obviously, like we discussed. So it went through another full audit. And so that is now in completion, and that's what we're actually waiting for, is that audit to come back. Once that comes back, which is expected hopefully next week, then we can begin to launch. So yeah, from a security perspective, highly, highly secure, highly audited. As far as the, stability system, I think we talked about it in our last episode. It's very similar to the FETH stability mode. When the system reaches to, I think in FETH's case, it was like 130% collateralization ratio. With fxUSD, I think it's up to like 134 because of the extra, the extra leverage on the other side. So when it hits below that 134% collateralization ratio, the system enters into stability mode, which is very similar to FETH. The F token minting is disabled at that point. F token redemption fees are waived. XETH minting fees are waived. And the X token redemption fees are increased. So it tries to kind of keep that stability into the system. On top of that, there's a reserve that the protocol is holding to even be more protected from any type of, potential stability issues. But the beauty about this fxUSD mechanism is that it really keeps a perfect peg. You're not really worried about, is it $1 or is it 98 cents or is it 97 cents? Or it's, at launch, it should be exactly $1 minus any particular fees. There will be situations where it's down, 0.9999, whatever. It's never going to be 100% perfect, but the peg mechanism is very different than, say, a typical AMO with Frax or any of these other types of strategies. One thing I do want to bring up, which I think I left out, and I think it's kind of an important point, but I don't think people really understand it, is how fxUSD, because the underlying it's sort of like a receipt token for the underlying LSTs. The way it's designed, Protocol FX doesn't really need curve pools. So they don't need to start off with a brand new curve pool. We will have curve pools, and we will have pairings like PYUSD and Frax and all of that. But it doesn't rely on having deep liquidity, because when you mint fxUSD, you are essentially tapping into the Steph Lido pool on Curve and the Frax pool on, on Curve as well. So what does that mean? It means that fxUSD automatically at launch has the deepest liquidity, as deep as the liquidity is for Steph and for Frax ETH. And so when a swap takes place, when you're taking your fxUSD, and you're swapping it for, say, USDC or PYUSD, in the background, it's taking that underlying LSD and it's swapping it with great liquidity for any of these other assets that are paired with it in DeFi. And so the cool thing about that is you're not creating 10 or 15 different curve pools. You're not incentivizing different pools. The cost of liquidity is practically zero for Protocol FX, which is, I haven't seen anybody do anything like that. I don't know any stablecoin that is doing a direct mint and is using the pools in Curve to be its liquidity.
And kind of like on that line, I just want to quickly touch on too, just kind of how all of these products from FFX protocol feed back or kind of accrue value back to the FXN token itself. Can you kind of shed some light on that?
Sure. So the So what's really cool is the Ethereum staking yield that goes to the rebalance pool, right? 50% of that yield goes to the FX treasury. And I know it sounds crazy. It's like, wow, can it really be that high? Can it be 50%? Yeah, it actually can be 50% and still have very, very high yields. So 50% goes to the treasury. And then of that treasury, 75% is currently sent to CVX FXN stakers or FXN lockers. And it's sent in the form of Ethereum. So the reward is Ethereum, it's staked ETH. So what's cool about that is, you have a situation where and this is why and it's not financial advice, but fxUSD is a minting machine. I mean, the more that's minted, the more fees are generated. You're going to see a whole lot of fees being sent to the protocol. And it doesn't stop with fxUSD. fxUSD is just one particular product of 50 products that FX can create. I mean, it can basically take, and here's a little bit of alpha. The next thing that we're looking at is LRTs. So we're going to be able to create stable / leveraged pairs of an LRT token. I don't want to release who that might be. You guys might already have seen certain things on Twitter that are out there, but you guys are certainly talked to these people before. And we're looking to create that stable pair, which is really cool because we can earn that underlying LRT yield now as a stable pair. And bonus points, we can earn eigenlayer points by farming in a stable environment, by not exposing to Ethereum price risk. That's never been done before. So if you want to farm Ethereum eigenlayer points, you can do it with the LRTs that are coming on the way.
That's exciting. When might that launch?
I was told that it would be immediately after fxUSD's launch.
Guys, I think this is a great place for us to wrap up. Appreciate Cryptovestor being able to hop on so soon with you, given the pending launch of fxUSD. So I want to remind our listeners that they should learn more about fxUSD and f(x) protocol by going to fx.aladdin.club. They should follow Cryptovestor77 on Twitter if they want to hear more alpha from you in real time. They should follow protocol_fx, which is the handle for f(x) protocol. And other than that, Cryptovestor, any last bit of alpha you want to leave us with? And again, just thank you so much for taking the time to teach us all about fxUSD.
Sure, absolutely. Happy to be here. Happy to, to give you guys the information about fxUSD. Thank you for having me, by the way. Really appreciate it, especially at such short notice. Alpha, well, there is one thing. It's kind of like the last episode. I'll leave you with a teaser. What if FX protocol created a lending market like FX Lend and used fxUSD as its primary stablecoin? That would be very interesting. That's all I'll say.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you're a talented founder or developer, please consider reaching out to our team at fourthrevolution.capital. And for future episodes of the Edge podcast, please check out our link tree at edge_pod.